get out of your way. Cannot wait for an epic Mason Crosby show with Mitch Thunder Nelles coming up 9 to 11. Appreciate you guys a ton. We'll talk tomorrow before I take my epic break coming up over the next week plus.
Nice.
Yep, one more day of Andy Herman, and then we just got to talk about him behind his back the rest of the time. So appreciate you, Andy.
Yes.
Same as every day. Until one more day before I get Wally pipped by Tommy and company.
Exactly.
So that's probably what's going to come up next. It might just be my last show tomorrow. We'll see. Huge thank you to you guys. Thank you to Tommy as well. Of course, you can find the Pack a Day. Yeah, exactly. You can find the Pack a Day podcast 365 days a year, wherever you get your favorite podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with Dan Kotnick. This has been the Pack a Day radio show. Enjoy your Thursday. And of course, go Pack Go.
A Super Bowl champion.
The Green Bay Packers have won the Super Bowl.
The Packers' all-time leading scorer.
A game winner for Mason Crosby.
It's time for the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Nelles, presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee, on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and on the free Odyssey app.
Good morning and welcome in. The Brewers are a season high 9 games over 500. They are just 2.5 games out behind the Chicago Cubs in second place now in the wild card. Cooper Flagg is a Dallas Maverick, and the Milwaukee Bucks, I guess as Bucks fans, we just could have taken a nap during the draft, during the first round of the draft last night. My name's Mitch Nelles, a.k.a. Thunder. This is the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee. And he is here. He is the kicker. He humaned it up yesterday. We'll hear all about, did he finish that honey-do list? No one knows. He's Mason Crosby.
I did. I made it out of the basement. We're clearing out.
How's your back?
Back's fine. It's more something. It's something we should have done when we moved here. Sorting through a lot of things, and most of the stuff is mine, and not to toot my own horn, but it's memorabilia, like things that I've collected over my time in Green Bay. I took a few pictures. I was going to send y'all and maybe even post some of them about some of the stuff I'm just finding in boxes, and kind of almost going down memory lane a little bit. So honestly, it's therapeutic in a sense. Trying to sort through some things, clear some things out. I don't know if anybody's done any of that. And I know Wisconsinites are good spring cleaners. They crush, like going through their stuff through the winter, and then having those yard sales, having those garage sales, and just spring cleaning and starting anew every summer. But I've never been really good at that.
What do you call it? Because some people, is it yard sale? Is it garage sale? Is it rummage sale? Or something else.
I always called it a garage sale.
Okay.
Yeah,
even if it wasn't,
up in Texas.
even if it was on the, even if it wasn't out of the garage, even if it was like on the yard or wherever it was.
I guess it just kind of depends. Yeah, because there's also these neighborhood rummage sales, and I feel like that's a rummage sale if everyone brings it to a central location.
Ooh, okay.
Right, and then it's like you bring all your junk and just sell it collectively in the middle of the neighborhood. That's a rummage sale. Yard sale, if you have more stuff that you've cleared out that spills into your yard, then I guess we could move into a yard sale. So
yeah, I think and it's funny because you're absolutely right here in southeastern Wisconsin, especially.
Crush it.
But it's like every weekend, starting on Thursdays, it's like there's signs up on every corner, everywhere, like, here's the address, here's the yard sale, here's the garage. And then you buy, like, the pre-made signs from Walgreens or Walmart. And so they say garage sale or yard sale on them. And then people will write rummage.
They write rummage?
Yeah, like what?
Come in rummage. No, see, I like garage because I don't want anyone rummaging through my stuff.
But the stuff you want to sell, you want them to rummage through. Because you want to see, we had a yard sale.
Still feels weird.
It does, but you want to get rid of it. Like, we had a yard sale a month ago, and we made some good money, but like when it was over, we still had so much crap left.
So then everyone that rummaged through, now you have to deal with it. You're still touching it and rummaging it yourself.
Well, Goodwill now has to deal with
it. Exactly. Then you just take it to Goodwill.
He's Mason Crosby. I'm Mitch Nelles. We are the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee. And the #1 pitcher in Milwaukee is Jacob Misiorowski.
Another payoff. And he locked him up for strike 3.
Locked him up.
Front door slider. 8 strikeouts for Misiorowski in 5 scoreless innings.
And I believe it was pointed out in the post-game press conference with Pat Murphy, Mizorowski struck out players yesterday with all 4 of his pitches, and he's only supposed to have 2 pitches.
Yeah.
Like he's got the fastball.
That's insane. He's
got the changeup. He's working on the curve. He's working on the sweeper, and he struck guys out on all 4 different pitches. You played that one, and that was his last one. The one that was most impressive to me was the O'Neill Cruz one, where he pitched 12 pitches in the first inning over 100. And I think for the game he had like 18 pitches or something like that. So he calmed down. Like he even mentioned it in the post game that he had like the juices flowing in that first inning.
Exactly.
But O'Neill Cruz, he had a big at bat in whatever that was, the 4th inning I think it was, and he needed to jack it up, and he got him on back-to-back 102 mile-an-hour pitches. It was, it's so, he's electric to watch. Skeens didn't have the performance he wanted, but it also showed how bad the Pirates are. Because Skeens had there was a blooper that fell in the double by Haas. It should have been should have been caught. Like honestly,
they're a bad team.
Right. They're not a good team. So I'm glad the Brewers were able to take advantage of them, and it was just a great opportunity for Milwaukee to shine nationally with Jacob Mizorowski on the mound.
Yeah, he's just he's so impressive. I mean, he hasn't given up a run, correct? Like
he gave up 2 runs in Minnesota.
He gave up 2 runs, but
he had pitched 6 perfect innings.
6 perfect.
They score. I don't know if they scored 4 or 5 in the top of the 7th.
I mean, his ERA is like 1.2.
Right. He walked a guy, and then he gave up a 2-run homer. So he only gave up 1 hit in that game, but gave up 2 runs.
That's right. Yeah. So
3 total hits in 16 innings.
It's crazy. You just wonder, like, how. Yeah, obviously he's probably going to come back to earth a little bit, but just with the nasty stuff he has, I just don't see it being like all of a sudden he's getting shelled and it's just going to be like it's going to be wide open. Because I mean, Paul Skeens he's an unbelievable pitcher. He gave up 4 runs in 1 inning, right?
So, and that's like his worst performance.
And that's
of the
his
year.
Worst performance
because he doesn't get shelled either. I think the question we have with Mizorowski. As a young, and he's the same age as Skeens, but obviously he's pitched less in the majors, is at some point, does he have the wild session? Does he walk 4 or 5 guys? I'm more worried about that and then giving up a big 3-run homer than I am worried about him getting shelled.
Do you think that
guys
happens
hit on him
more if he's working on all of those pitches or if he's trying to throw that heat?
I'm going to say that the fastball will be that pitch because you have
where he gets wild.
Well, maybe not necessarily where he gets wild, but where danger could come from, I think, because if you're a hitter, you have to go up there just ready to hit 102 every time. Otherwise, you will never catch up to it. You will never hit it.
Yeah.
It is way too fast to look for something else, and then, it's fastball. Once you recognize that, it's too late. So every single time you go up there, you have to be expecting 102, and if he throws something else, you're lucky, hopefully. That's what you're doing. So the fastball, I think, is the pitch that if danger does come
Somebody
from
can
it,
catch it.
they're going to have to. Well, right. Velocity will always be caught up to in Major League Baseball.
For sure. Yeah, it's just like anything. It's like, again, it's impressive whenever you can throw that fast, but there are batters that have no issue hitting that if they are loaded up and ready to go. So, it's just like in any sport, stuff gets figured out. So I do think it is awesome to see him striking guys out with different pitches.
Yes.
Because that's going to be his weapon, is to shift to that. Does someone like that, like a Miz, as a starter right now, does he end up ever moving into like a closing position, or is he just a starting pitcher?
Why?
Yes is the answer.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Like, as it's not like right now, but
right.
As he gets into his career, and it's like, all right, he's still throwing 100+ gas. Like, he might end up being a good closer someday.
Yeah, and I think one of the best examples is John Smoltz. John Smoltz was a great
kind of
starter
what I was
for his
of.
career.
Yeah.
And I think what it really comes down to is his, again, we talk about this with the Packers and Mike McCarthy all the time, availability. It comes down to injury status. Because we know, and I talked about this, so Chris Miller from 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh joined us yesterday because we talked about Skeens and Mizorowski. At some point, they are going to have a season-ending injury in their careers. They're going to have a shoulder. They're going to have an elbow. they're going to have something that they pull or they tear, because every pitcher does, just across the board. Every pitcher does. So the question is, like, is that a one-time thing? And do they rebound and become as good as they were as a starter? Or are they recurring? Are they year after year after year where you're pitching 20 starts instead of 35 starts, and now you start thinking about what's a better role? Because there's no doubt that Mizorowski right now could be a closer in Major League Baseball and save 40 to 50 games every year. The question is, like, if you can get – and I remember when Josh Hader started. Like, when Josh Hader first came up, they wanted him to be a starter.
Right.
Like, he was a lefty, and he had multiple pitches and unhittable from the left side. And he just showed so much value coming out of the bullpen, pitching multiple innings, that they ended up making him a closer. You want your best pitchers to be starters. You want them to gobble up 6 or 7 innings every 5th day. But when a guy throws this fast and this hard, like, you do worry about what that means for his body, not necessarily when he's 23, but maybe after 5 years, maybe after 10 years. So it's certainly something that could happen. But right now, like, I think as much as we can, we want Mizorowski. And again, we've talked about this too. He pitched 81 innings last year? I mean, he's never pitched 150 innings in a year. He's never pitched 220 innings in a year. So they're going to be very careful with him, and that's something they did yesterday. They took him out after 5. They took him out after 74 pitches. And yes, do most starters go 90 to 100? Do most starters stay in there? If that's Freddie or if that's Chad Patrick or Quinn Priester, do we like to think that they're getting one more inning after 74 pitches? Yes, but they need to really be careful with Mizorowski, because they are going to ask from him this season more than he's ever done before in his life.
For sure. Well, those are great takes, because I think I saw Skeens already has, 115 innings pitched?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yep.
So it's just like, it's crazy to look at the difference in the loads. And like, I can't imagine being like a Skeens in that situation where you're going out every day, you're bringing it, you're pitching that much, and then you're just not winning ball games. Like, that just has to be frustrating whenever, you again, yesterday he gave up 4 runs, so he had a relatively bad game for him. But some of that was defense, like you said. It was a pop up that somebody probably should have fielded and caught.
He gives up a
guy
run.
Slipped and fell down. Yeah.
Right, he gives up a run on a dribbler back to the pitcher. Which, listen, you're Joey Ortiz. You put the ball in play,
sure,
you get that run in.
Dude's a dog.
You give up a base hit to Caleb Durbin, who hit it exactly where the shortstop was playing. Yeah. So, I'm sorry. Durbin was running, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Collins was running.
Yeah.
Durbin hit the ball. If Collins doesn't steal on that play, that is a tailor-made double play. And Skeens induced that. That's just bad luck. Now, that's on Skeens, but that is bad luck. And then Cruz has got to catch that ball in center. Like, I don't care. You got to get there.
Can I make this point?
Must have been humid, slick out there.
We're talking about the workload and the load management with Jacob Mizorowski, and maybe I understand that in year 1, just because it is something that you would like to see him progress towards. And Pat Murphy had a really good line of, like, careers are marathons, not sprints, right? And you don't go out and run 26.2 miles when you're training for a marathon. You gradually build up to it. I will say this. The Pirates are in this boat with Paul Skeens, where everyone is already assuming that Paul Skeens is gone. He will not be on the Pittsburgh Pirates for his entire career. Whenever he wants to go get his bag and he is not team controlled anymore, he will go do that. So the Pirates are deciding, you know what? We're going to get as much out of Paul Skeens right now as we can. We will work him. We will pitch him. We will use him. So if the Brewers are in a boat of eventually they don't want to sign Jacob Mizorowski because they think he could make a lot of money, they better use him when they have him. So I am all out on, like, load management and making sure, like, treat him like he is a pitcher in this rotation and nothing else.
So my debate on that is that
pitch him every 3 days. Why not?
I'm not load managing him because you're planning for the future. I'm loading manage him because he's going to get hurt this year. if you pitch him, if you don't load manage him. He will get hurt, and you will need him in September, and he will be unavailable in September.
I agree, but Sparky's talking about, they should pitch him once a week, every 7 days.
Yeah, that was a little ridiculous.
No, pitch him.
Take him back to college.
Pitch him like they did yesterday.
Yes.
Just a normal rotation.
Right, you're up 4-0.
Sure.
Could he come out for the 6th inning? Sure.
But
Do
why?
you need him to?
Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
Especially with a day off today. Like, I did not like that they pitched Uribe yesterday. We can get into the nuances of the bullpen.
Yeah, you texted that. So, but even with a day off, you felt like that was...
Because they used him... It was more that they used him unnecessarily on Tuesday. There was no reason to use Uribe on Tuesday, and they did. But anyway, he did not look like himself yesterday. There's a day off
Just
today.
A little off.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a day off today, so it does kind of clean up a lot of those issues. I'm not on board with Sparky if he said pitch him once a week. I am on board with if you got a lead after 5, you don't have to leave him in for 6 or 7. You can get him out, and that's where you get him his rest.
All right.
Situationally, I think if you're playing, Cubs or you're playing, like something, and you're heading down the stretch here, like yes, right now, middle of summer, you got to manage him. But like I think later on, you get a little bump in a lead, and you got a 4-run lead. You'd go one more inning with him than you would normally. Whenever he's bringing the heat and doing what he's doing, and you just push him a little bit further, and that needs to come probably in late July, early August, where it's just like let's start building that up so we get into the playoffs. If we need you 7 innings because you're going you're throwing strong, we're gonna lean on you.
I love the stat of it was just like the 4th time ever that the 2 starting pitchers threw 100 miles an hour in a ball game. Or it's the 7th time ever. It's the 4th time ever in the same inning that they did it.
Yep.
And Paul Skeens threw one pitch at 100, and Jacob Mizorowski threw 19 pitches at 100.
12 in that inning.
12 in that
for the
inning.
game.
Yes.
That is insane.
And he was. I mean, that first inning, you could tell he was juiced. He was amped up because the rest of the game, he was sticking around 98, 99 for the most part. But that first inning, throw 12 pitches. 12 of his 21 pitches in the first inning were 100 or higher.
And how many strikes he's throwing, right? Like, I mean, it's like he's throwing, I think it was
he's around 50, the plate. 50 out of 74.
Strikes in 74, right?
So that's about right. That's an average number. That's
but
not.
he is just I mean, but again, whenever he's moving that ball a little bit more, it's going to get guys chasing because that thing might start. And if he's got that slider that kind of gets outside of that batter's box.
Yep.
Right as it's coming in, like that's going to be a huge weapon for him.
We are live on YouTube at The Fan Milwaukee. Live right now on YouTube at The Fan Milwaukee. The Nicolay Law Fan Talk and Text line 414-677-1250. If you want to chime in your thoughts on Jacob Mizorowski out-dueling Paul Skeens yesterday at AmFam Field. Camille Davis from Locked On Bucks going to join us coming up in the next segment. The Bucks do absolutely nothing yesterday. They weren't supposed to do anything yesterday, but it was still really boring. And so
boring.
What will they do today? We'll ask Camille that as well. He's Mason Crosby. I'm Mitch Nelles. We're the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee. This is the Mason Crosby Show presented by Verizon, the number one network in Milwaukee. We're on 1250 AM, 105.7 FM, The Fan. We're on thefanmilwaukee.com. We're on the free Odyssey app. And, of course, we are now streaming live video on YouTube at The Fan Milwaukee. And joining us now on the Mason Crosby Show and on the Fan Milwaukee YouTube channel, she is the one. She is the only Camille Davis from Locked On Bucks podcast. What up, Camille?
What's going on, guys? How are y'all today?
Camille, yeah, we haven't gotten to do our barbecue yet, but this is the first step. At least we get to hang out, we get to see each other, on the video, and always appreciate you jumping on. So we're gonna dive right in. NBA draft last night.
Cooper Flag.
Not really any big surprises up top, but there's a couple things that I thought were interesting. But I'd love to hear your take on how that draft went and what you think the Bucks are poised to do here in the second round.
Yeah, I thought that the first round of the draft it had a lot of movement, a lot of trades, a lot of teams paying exorbitant prices, in my opinion, to move up a few slots. Not as many trades involving other players moving to other teams, but the trades just for teams to get up there and get their guy were interesting. The one in particular that really stands out is the New Orleans Pelicans trading with the Atlanta Hawks to move up 10 slots for them to be able to draft, I believe it was Jeremiah Fears in that slot. But what makes it interesting to us and Bucks fans is the fact that the Pelicans gave up the 2026 unprotected first, which is a protected first that involves the Bucks and the Pelicans. So now the Hawks will have the most favorable pick between the Bucks and the Pelicans for this upcoming draft. And the 2026 draft is looking like it's going to be one for the Bucks. So that surprised me because I don't think New Orleans is going to be as good as they think that they're going to be to give up an unprotected first to do that in the first place.
Camille,
Nice.
just other teams just playing like Uno and Dominoes and Monopoly with the Milwaukee Bucks picks because we all know the Bucks don't own any of their own picks.
They don't. And honestly, that pick got us a championship. I really don't care. It was worth it. We got a championship. It was worth it. So I know there are fans who are looking at it and they're still just like, oh, I can't believe that we don't have any control of our picks. And sure, for the Dame trade, I get it. That hasn't come to fruition the way we thought that it would. But the Drew trade, all those picks that were given up, I could care less because it worked out at the end of the day for the Bucks.
Well, you talked about the Dame trade, and like the Drew Holiday stuff that's going on. Obviously him getting traded back to the Trailblazers. They had some movement, and they actually moved back, correct, out of with Memphis to get kind of, which was it's a funny story. I'm sure you were watching, you saw it where their pick was sitting in the stands, and he stands up. I think what's his name, Hanson Yang. Is that right? Hanson Yang, sorry. So he stands up out of the crowd and comes walking down. So I thought that was pretty awesome, and to be picked at number 16. But yeah, talk about what like the Trailblazers have done with all of that movement and those picks, like to get Drew Holiday back after sending him to Boston. And I feel like they, as an organization, are really kind of making all these picks and all these moves work in their favor.
Yeah, they're trying to. I think if anybody watched the Trailblazers, which a lot of people did not, and I get why you didn't, but if you didn't, the end of last season, they started to show a little something defensively. Like they have a little something cooking up there in Portland, but I don't understand the Yang pick at all. They just drafted Klingon last year, who's a center, drafted the center this year, and Yang he's not a big that you can like play as the 4 or the 5. Like he's just a 5. And they have Ayton, and they have Robert Williams. Like they have too many centers on that team right now for it to really make sense. And getting Yang at 16, when at best he was projected to be at the end of the first round, and that was even seen as like a reach there. So to get him at 16, when you have 3 centers, one you just drafted last year, that piece is puzzling to me. But ultimately, like maybe there are more moves coming. There have to be for this Trailblazers team for it to make sense. But they clearly view themselves as a team that's kind of like, we think we're going to be able to surprise people a little bit more than expected this upcoming year.
Well, and that's Drew Holiday's job now. Like Drew Holiday's got to figure out how to share the ball with 4 centers. It'll be Drew and 4 centers probably on the court at one time.
It's a new strategy.
Yeah. But it's a bold strategy, Cotton. What do you think? What was your reaction both to the Drew Holiday trade for Anthony Simons that the Celtics made, and then the Celtics trading Kristaps Porzingis to the Hawks, and kind of, in the wake of the Jason Tatum injury, really reshaping their roster?
Yeah, honestly, even before Tatum got hurt, this was the offseason I was waiting to see for Boston, because they just had so much money committed on that team, where their luxury bill was like over $500 million, if I remember correctly. Like, it was a big bill for that Celtics team, which is why I laughed when their ownership sold the team, because it was like, yeah, we're going to pay all these guys. We're going to get paid, and then y'all figure out what else y'all going to do here, because that's no longer my problem at this point. So I figured this offseason we would see some changes made, see some trades made for them to try to shed some salary. And then the Tatum injury, I think, adds just another wrinkle to it, where they're kind of like, okay, we can really kind of get down to the studs and see how far under the second apron we can get to save not only ourselves some headaches from trying to build this team with the CBA and the restrictions that come from being a second apron team, but also getting that luxury tax bill down for our team, especially if it's a year where we don't have our MVP, we don't have our main guy here, Tatum, to really lead us. So Drew seemed like the first guy who'd be out the door given his contract and his age. He had a down season. Porzingis made sense as well, given the fact that he had a weird year with an illness that just kept lingering for him. So getting him out there, and then in the draft here, where it's just like, okay, now we have some clean books, like, let's go forward here. And now you're still hearing like Boston might not be done. Like, Jaylen Brown might be out. I saw
Brown and Derek White potentially. Yeah, they're taking calls for him, right?
Yeah, which is so strange. But again, next year's draft class is one that people are really excited about, so I can get that. But ultimately, Boston is just making that pivot. Like, we're going to save some money this year. And if they do keep Brown, with the way the East is shaking out, like, they still have a chance to be a playoff team down the stretch here.
That's interesting. We got Camille Davis, Locked On Bucks, at Camille Monet on X on the Mason Crosby Show, and we're talking all things NBA draft. And we're going to shift, to our Bucks. They're so they should get a pick tonight, right? Like, they should have one, unless it gets wild and crazy. They're in this draft. But what do you think they're going to take if they stay at 47, or do you think is there any value in them like moving up at this point, or should they just stay put?
Now, someone like Rasheer Fleming is still on the board. He is somebody who I think would be worth going up to get. But the problem for the Bucks is the problem that we've mentioned. They just don't have that many assets to really be like, hey, let's trade 47 and this to move up in the second round. So ultimately, I think the Bucks end up staying at 47 and making the pick. Again, this is an educated guess, no inside information on what they plan to do, but a benefit of having that second round draft pick, it's cheap. It's a cheap contract to have on your books. And as I mentioned, the CBA, it makes team building really, really expensive for you if you continue to add these very high value pieces. So people to have a rookie come in that's controlled money for you going forward is going to be really important. And I think they can get a guy who's going to be an older player that can come in and contribute right away, not contribute like somebody like a Malcolm Brogdon did as a second round draft pick years ago, but someone who can give you a few minutes throughout the regular season and maybe can continue to develop into something else.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. I do think since this draft has started, at least for a day or so, it sounds like some of the Giannis trade rumors have slowed down a little bit maybe. But are you still hearing any kind of rumblings about potential there, or is that just kind of everyone in the media world speculating and not really something that looks like it's going to happen in any form or fashion?
It feels like speculation at this point, because even Shams Charania is saying like, well, no one really knows what Giannis wants to do, but yet Giannis is still the topic of conversation day in and day out about what he's going to do. Although he himself said no one knows because Giannis keeps it close to the vest. At this point, you've heard Doc Rivers come out on the Bill Simmons podcast and mention like, I don't know how many more times Giannis has to say he wants to be a Milwaukee Buck. But like, it's kind of frustrating to keep having these conversations. So I think as we go into the start of the 2025-26 season, you can expect for Giannis to be on this team. Now, if the season it goes worse than expected or things happen, then of course you're going to hear that chatter start to pick up again. And ultimately next offseason, we'll probably be back in the same place having the same conversations about Giannis's future. But at this point, that's part of the price of business of having a generational player on your team, especially on a team that's lacking assets right now, has their other star player out with an Achilles injury, and just looking at the landscape of like, well, how many more moves can the Bucks really make to be like a top contender? And honestly, this upcoming season, I don't think that they will be. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing for this Bucks team. I think what's most important for the Bucks this year is to start to find those pieces that make sense if you're going to move to an offense that's more centered around Giannis being the main initiator, and just starting to find those pieces going forward.
Man, Camille, yeah, that's you. Gosh, you always just hit it right. Yeah, that nail right on the head. That was like exactly so spot on. And it is like Giannis. This whole situation is just so fascinating because it's like it feels like media, everybody, they're like he should want out of Milwaukee. Like that's like the whole story, right? It's like it's not that he's ever said it. He's never indicated it. Like Doc is saying, like, stop it. Like he has not ever said this. So like, why is he the topic of the conversation? Like if there had ever been a point in this season, in any of his career where he's just like, gosh, I'm frustrated, then I get it. Like I'm frustrated. Like, you know, we don't have a chance to win, all that. But like, I mean, also too, like he has to think in his mind, if he goes somewhere right now with how much someone would have to give up, he's probably going somewhere that's more depleted than the Bucks are at this moment.
Yep.
And it's not going to be about money. Like, I don't know if he can even make any more, like with this contract. I mean, he's I think scheduled to make $55 million this year. So it's just kind of one of those where it is so fascinating how the media, how everybody is driving this narrative of how would it look? What would it look like if he got traded? And he has just never been in that position of saying, I would be interested in this, and I'm frustrated with how it's going here in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think people pick up on it because Giannis has been in the media before just saying like how important it is for him to compete, and how as long as him and Milwaukee are in alignment of like, hey, we're still going after a championship, I'm cool with being here. And I think people are looking at what the Bucks have around him, and they're like, hey, this doesn't line up with a championship team. Don't you want to leave?
So they're trying to do it for him. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But it's like a lot of superstars that have remained with one team have gone through these periods where the team needs to reload around them. We just saw it with the Warriors and Steph Curry staying through that. We've seen it with Kobe. We've seen it with Dirk. You've seen it with a lot of these guys who stayed with one team. There's going to be a couple of lean years there, but if you trust in the direction of the ownership and what they have planned on how you get back to that table of like, hey, we're back to contending. Like normally the superstar is kind of like, if you can buy into it, you go forward with it. And it seems like the relationship that Giannis has with Milwaukee, with John Horst, who is one of the guys who has been here since he's been here. One of the few who's like been steady throughout this whole time. Like they have a great relationship. And I'm sure they've had conversations about how they get back this team to contending, because it's not as if the Bucks are going to skimp out. Like they've shown they'll pay the money. Like they just have to figure out the best direction going forward. And it seems at this point that Giannis is on board with like trying to figure out what that looks like for them going forward. So again, I mean, if I was a fan of another team, I'd be trying to drum up trade rumors too. Like, yeah, I want Giannis on my team.
Yeah,
but
get let's go. Of those things in.
Camille Davis joining us here on the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee. So we had the Kevin Durant trade. The Celtics make a couple trades. I know the Poole McCollum trade. There aren't a ton of free agent names this year. Do you? And so the expectation around the NBA is that there are going to be more trades than usual, and that's where we're going to. Is there anybody you're keeping your eye on that hasn't necessarily been named in trade rumors that you think could be a possible moving piece in the NBA? Not necessarily Bucks, but just like in the NBA in general, where like, you know, it's somebody, or do you think there'll be a trade? Do you think we'll get some shocks, or do you think this could be the most boring offseason in the history of the NBA?
Oh no, I think we're going to get some moves.
All right, good.
All right,
I think there will be some moves. In large part too, because like I mentioned, with how things are constructed, I think a lot of teams are in a position with this new parity era of the NBA of thinking like, hey, we're only a few pieces away. So I think a lot of teams you'll see more trades because it's more of like shuffling chairs on the deck of like, that's not working for you. It's not working for us over here. What if we trade these pieces to see if this works for both of us a little bit better than what we had? One name in particular I keep looking at is Jonathan Kuminga in Golden State, because he's a restricted free agent, which normally You don't want to get involved with restricted free agents because it ties up your cap and you got to wait and you get the hours to match the deal, so on and so forth. But his name has been brought up a lot in like sign and trade options. And there's been rumors too that the Warriors are interested in like a Bobby Portis. So like that's a name I keep my eye on.
Done. Sign me up. Sign me up. I'll take Kuminga for Bobby right now. Like
now,
I love. Listen,
I don't know how likely it is.
Right. And listen, we love Bobby, but it's like I did the whole show yesterday, and Mason, this was one of my main focuses yesterday. Is like Tatum gets hurt, and the Celtics immediately make moves. And Camille, you said it; they were going to make moves anyway. The Bucks didn't make moves 3 years ago the way they were supposed to with Bobby and Pat. I don't know if it's because we love these guys. Like there are guys like they're Visit Milwaukee and their 3-leaf properties and like all the other things, like because we're small town Milwaukee, Midwestern nice, that we have to keep guys who love it here and that we love. But like these are guys the Bucks should have made moves with 3 years ago and they didn't. The Celtics, like literally the second something happens, they trade their guys out. And so it's like, so if there's a way to get something back for Bobby or Pat at this point, just sign me up. Kuminga, I'll take it. Like, you talk about getting more athletic and getting more young. Hello, Kuminga. Yes, please.
I think you though just hit it on the head though. The difference in markets, like they're not gonna, these guys in Boston or where like other cities aren't going to move the needle in the community the way that a Milwaukee Buck player will. So whenever you ingrain yourself, you're in the community, you're doing all of that. Like there is a balance of like how much you contribute on the court, but also what you're doing like in that community. I do think there is a piece to that in some of these smaller markets where you go to New York, you go to Boston, you go anywhere like that, and it's like you are just a cog in the machine, and it's not going to really matter whenever they move on. Like you're not going to affect what happens in that community, which it would affect that in Milwaukee if they pull all that support. If they get rid of a player like that, it probably will affect part of the community of Milwaukee. So I do think sometimes that's what an organization considers as they feel like they are stewards of more than just that team, but also building that community.
Right, but you also forget that you are stewards of that team and that you don't do your due diligence in building a franchise and winning basketball games when you decide that the community involvement is more important than the product you put on the court. And so that's the problem I have with what the Bucks have done.
Yeah, if it goes that way, sure. If it's like the community involvement,
it clearly has gone that way.
But here's the thing,
Bobby wasn't bad when he was healthy, and he was suspended.
Well, okay, you're right. He was a good player. Bad.
He's a good. I mean, he was a contributor, and he plays his role well.
Yeah,
Pat Connaughton, I would say, maybe on the other side.
Yeah, Pat's decline happened. It felt like very quickly. But I think for the Bucks, part of the problem was that if they were healthy, right, it all looks different. Every year since they won that championship, there was something that happened that really tanked them. Like right afterwards, I mean, you get your ring night. Brook Lopez plays, and then he has a back injury, and you lose your defensive anchor. And now you're putting Bobby Portis in a role that he's not necessarily suited for. He can't be your Brook Lopez, but that's what they had to have him try to do. And that year, they still were able to put together a solid season. They got to the playoffs. They get out the first round, but Chris Middleton gets hurt in the first round of the playoffs there. And then you go into Boston. If you win game 6 at home, you're probably, looking at this a little bit differently, but you lose that game. You go back to Boston, you lose game 7. The next year, Giannis gets hurt. And next year, Giannis gets hurt. And then the next year, Dame gets hurt. Like there's just been so many different injuries where those role players were having to be put in situations to play roles that they weren't necessarily cast for. And that's part of the problem where it's like, I can see Bucks ownership looking like, hey, this team healthy makes sense. But once those injuries happened, it really just put guys in positions that they didn't need to be in.
Camille Davis, Locked On Bucks. Last question before we let you go, because it's just on my mind, because the talk is shifting and making sure like an offensive strategy to just get the ball in Giannis's hands more, like kind of make him the focal point, do all of that. When I think of that and what you just said about his injuries, his workload, all of that, like he is not getting any younger. You give him, you kind of make him more of the focal point. Maybe don't have all those, you don't have all the pieces around him that are going to draw attention, and everybody is just physically, coming at him. Like, what does that look like if he's not available? I mean, like that's like a real possibility. Is you have a bunch of young guys. It's all the Giannis show. He is going to get hurt, and he's not going to be available for this Bucks team.
Man, if something happens to Giannis this season, you just start looking in the standings to see where the Pelicans are and seeing where the Bucks are and seeing which of those picks is going to be most favorable. I honestly think that even if that did happen, I still think the Pelicans will finish worse than the Bucks do, just because they're in a tougher conference just by nature. But ultimately, like, I think that's the concern that people do have with the idea of moving this to be a more Giannis-centric offense of like, now we're going to increase his usage rate. We're going to increase what we're asking for him to do when he already has had some health concerns in the past. But to that, I will say we have started to see, as Giannis is aging, him trying to find different ways to preserve his body throughout the game. So on offense, for example, if he continues to work on that mid-range shot, which we started to see last season really coming to fruition, and he mentioned, my body feels better because I'm not having to drive as often, although his driving numbers were still really high. But if that mid-range game can really be expanded where he doesn't have to get to the hoop every single time and he can create offense that way, it's going to do wonders for his body. He might have the minutes, but he won't have necessarily like load on his body of consistently trying to drive every possession. So if he can diversify his game in that way, and also if you put, I think, young guys around him that can do the running and the defending, and they can be solid on the perimeter at the point of attack defensively, it saves him as well. Now, the question I do have for the Bucks, because I don't think Brook Lopez is going to be back. And even if Bobby does come back, that means you're looking at a Bobby Giannis front court. They're going to need another center to be the guy to take that load defensively. So that's the piece of this offseason that I'm paying really close attention to, because Giannis has mentioned he does not like playing the five. It is very hard on his body to do so defensively. He likes to play that help defender role a lot more often. So just the Bucks trying to find that piece to help him. And maybe it's Jericho Sims. Maybe they go that route this year of like, hey, this offseason, we're really running a lot of it back, focusing more on the young guys. And then next offseason, we really go for it. But I think it's important to keep an eye on his usage rate, who the center is going to be, and if the young guys around him can really step up and do a lot of that heavy lifting of the running and defending around him.
Awesome. Camille Davis, Locked On Bucks at Camille Monet. Really appreciate you, Camille. It was awesome seeing your face, getting to talk. And I appreciate you always jumping on such great points about our Bucks and all the NBA. So have a great rest of your Thursday and crush the weekend. It's almost the 4th of July. It's almost a week. So I love the 4th. I'm excited for next week. But have a great one, Camille.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Absolutely, you as well. That is Camille Davis, Locked On Bucks podcast. And she's a pretty frequent guest here on The Fan with Andy Herman and with us, and always breaks down everything going on with the Milwaukee Bucks. When we come back, we've got Steve Novak in the 10 o'clock hour talking about the Wisconsin Marquette Celebrity Softball Slam. Then Drew Wagner at 10:20 will talk about the Miz and everything going on big picture-wise with the Milwaukee Brewers. They are the hottest team in baseball. They're the best team in baseball. Everyone else should just put their bats and gloves down. The Brewers are the World Series champions in 2025.
It's over now.
Yeah, let's go. He's Mason Crosby. I'm Mitch Nelles. The Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee. Nope. It's got to be something better than this. It's not your fault, Tommy. But like this is like 3 a.m. music to go to sleep to. Mason, you vibing on this one?
I'm feeling it.
Yeah, you're feeling it.
It's
nice.
fine for today.
Yeah.
It's kind of where I'm at today. I'm just kind of trying to figure things out a little bit.
What's your shirt today, Mace? By the way, we are on YouTube at the Fan Milwaukee, so you can watch us. Yeah.
Yep. We are the Mason Crosby Show, and we are presented by Verizon. We have all things now.
But still, what's your shirt?
Nofo Brew Company. It's the main kit sponsor of all of the Travella Group soccer clubs.
Oh, nice. Huh? So they're based in across the pond?
No, so they're in Atlanta, based out of Atlanta. And then they are one of the very first kind of micro breweries that have crossed over the pond and are actually making beer over there as well. And
what is your favorite? Like I assume you've been there or tasted some of their stuff.
Well, they're actually starting to make some. Their goal is to make some bourbon and some whiskey.
Okay,
so, yeah.
all right.
So they're in the process of doing that, and I've had their little kind of sample stuff, and their bourbon's great. I have not been to their tasting room. So
okay.
I haven't.
Much as Tommy and I need to get down to Nashville, maybe it's an Atlanta mess around for the three of us. What do you say?
Down. Yeah, hot Atlanta.
Atlanta's always fun, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not in the middle of
summer.
summer.
I'll take my shirt off. I'll swing it around my head like a helicopter.
Wow, Petey Pablo reference from Mason Crosby.
Exactly.
Wow. I knew you were cool. I didn't know you were that cool. He is Mason Crosby. We are live now on YouTube at the Fan Milwaukee, and I'm going to take the show completely off the rails right now. You ready?
Okay.
Last night, the Dallas Mavericks took Cooper Flag number 1, correct?
Yes.
Okay. 100 years ago, or how many years ago, the Bucks had the number 2 overall pick, and they picked Jabari Parker.
Yep.
We remember this? And he had, injury riddled. He tore his ACL. He came back, tore his ACL again, was never the same player. Then had a cup of coffee with the Celtics. Still could make shots, but couldn't play defense, couldn't move, really. All right, so when they drafted Jabari, Giannis had just finished his rookie year. And they were terrible, of course, because, Giannis didn't play that much, and the team was bad. That's why they had the number 2 pick.
155 pounds.
So I got called in by our friends at the Milwaukee Bucks.
To play point guard?
No, to record. Oh, I just did the thing with the.
I love that.
To record the commercial for Jason Kidd and Jabari Parker. And so I have it up on YouTube.
Nice.
One day we'll figure out how to play a video onto the video.
Share it.
I don't know how to do that yet, but you got to hear the audio of this 30-second commercial that we ran on TV promoting Jason Kidd and Jabari Parker. You ready, Mace?
Yeah, let's get it.
All right. And we're back. Well, Bucks fans, a lot of questions for our team this year. Are we ready for all of this? What are we expecting? There's lots of new faces, a lot of challenges, new owners in the house. Jason Kidd at the helm, Jabari Parker, and all sorts of young talent. But they need a leader. Can Jason Kidd put it all together? Here we go. Hey, Jason, you're on the clock.
Let's do this.
Yeah. All right, so the commercial is...
He made so much more money than anyone else in that commercial.
Let's do this.
Saying, let's do this.
So the video is of Jason Kidd driving around downtown, listening to local sports radio and having Mitch Thunder Nelles as the voice, saying... So I actually, in one of the takes, I actually said, when I said all young talent, I actually said Jabari Parker, Giannis, and all the young talent.
Sure.
And they were like, I did. And they were like, nope, we can't mention him. This has got to be about Jabari. He's the number 2 draft pick. We're not, we think Giannis is going to get there, but we're not putting that pressure on him yet, whatever it was.
Didn't want to put it out there yet.
But it's it was like...
Man, is it bad? I kind of had forgotten that Jason Kidd was in Milwaukee.
And Jason Kidd, so it is really interesting about the hiring of Jason Kidd.
Yeah.
Because right before, they had hired Jason Kidd, and then he left, and then they hired Mike Budenholzer, and Budenholzer got all these accolades, and it was a public press conference. Jason Kidd, because he was just coming out of Brooklyn, or was it New Jersey?
I think it
was real quiet, the
because
fanfare was low.
there had just been a drunk driving situation where he left a fundraiser for the team, and listen, Mason, you could probably preach this better than anybody. When you're making millions of dollars, get an Uber.
You're at something for the team.
Hammered. That's okay.
Come on.
Don't drive. And so They had just had this huge. Oh no, they had just had 2 weeks earlier. They had this huge public press conference for Jabari Parker, and now like on the floor of the Bradley Center, like private, like by invitation only press conference. No questions about his time, like with the Nets. No questions were allowed.
It was a public parentheses intoxication press conference.
Yes, exactly. So, and Jason Kidd, obviously, I think, didn't really perform as well as we would have wanted him to here in Milwaukee. You could argue now whether he's a great coach or whether he just had Luka or, and now he's got Cooper Flagg. So, and the Knicks want him. He seems to be a good coach, but that was I was the voice of that commercial, and it was like, they got Jabari Parker, and he's going to be the savior. We weren't even thinking about Giannis. I mean, Giannis was like going to be Robin. Jabari was brought in to be Batman.
Well, it's going to be awesome. Yeah. I mean, like they obviously that was the plan, and that's always the plan. The plan is that Cooper Flagg is going to be a perennial, all pro, and is going to be the best thing that's ever happened to the Dallas Mavericks. But you just don't know until he gets out there.
Exactly.
And I asked Nolan, my son, I'm like, hey, is Cooper Flagg going to be? Do you think he's going to be as good as he was in college in the NBA? And he's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, okay. Like Nolan thinks so, but only time will tell. Like, you just got to see if all of that transfers and if he can learn to play the game as it has to be played in the NBA. It's just, it's just different.
Exactly. All right, we got to get to speaking of the NBA and a guy who knows a little bit about the NBA, so we can talk to him about that as well. Steve Novak from FanDuel Sports. He's on the Bucks broadcast. He's also got the Wisconsin Marquette Celebrity Softball Slam coming up tomorrow in Oconomowoc. Let's get to Steve Novak coming up here on the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee. What's up, Verizon?
Hello.
This is the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the number one network in Milwaukee. My name's Mitch Thunder Nelles. Mason Crosby is here. Hi, Mason.
I'm here. Yes, I am.
How you doing, man?
Oh man, just getting ready for the weekend. Like I said, I thought it was Friday today. So
it kind of feels like it kind of has that vibe, doesn't it?
Yeah,
because of summer and kids are kids all over the place. You got one away, right?
We got one away camp, and then two of them go every day to the same camp, but we just have to drive them back and forth, the twins. And then,
is there any carpool available or any other people?
My
from the
mom's
neighborhood?
here, so she's helping with the drive.
That's not really a carpool.
She's helping with the drive, but my Suburban's still in the shop, so waiting to get that done. It was the starter. So I have to replace the starter. I'm hoping it'll be done this afternoon and I can pick it up.
My grandpa back in the day owned Rampart Auto Parts, which was here in Milwaukee, which only did starters and alternators. And there were a couple summers where I worked like upstairs, just like literally on the line, just like doing one thing for 8 straight hours. I don't know anything about cars. I didn't learn anything about cars, unfortunately. But I could put that one piece of metal in that metal slot where it goes.
Exactly. Yes. Just do your job.
Exactly. Joining us now on the Mason Crosby Show, he is probably the greatest shooter of a basketball in the history of the Mason Crosby Show. Like, I think you and I are really good shooters, Mason, but this guy is otherworldly. And apparently he hit a two-run walk-off homer in last year's inaugural Wisconsin Marquette Celebrity Softball Slam. So joining us now, the one, the only, Steve Novak, one of the hosts of the Wisconsin Marquette Celebrity Softball Slam tomorrow in Oconomowoc. Steve, Saturday in Oconomowoc. See, it feels like Friday. Steve, welcome to the show.
Well, I appreciate it, and I appreciate the intro. Great being on with you guys, and like you said, although I was known as a bit of a specialist shooting the ball when I played hoops, I'm just so proud to be able to show my versatility athletically by hitting some dingers in softball games as I slowly and gracefully age past the age where you can actually play professional sports anymore. So I'm in my happy place now, celebrity softball games. So I appreciate you guys having me on to talk about it.
Yeah, so Steve, tell us, who's showing up, who's playing for Wisconsin, who's playing for Marquette, and obviously you hit the winner last year. So what does this matchup look like? There's a lot of expectations now for you going forward here.
There's a lot of trash talk. I can tell you that. You got guys like Travis Beckham, from Wisconsin on the mound. You got some. Look, Marquette doesn't have a softball team, but Wisconsin does, and they actually brought some softball, some women's softball players last year. But as Mitch, as you mentioned, Marquette, I found last year that the basketball players from Marquette, which was heavily against some of the football players from Wisconsin, the eye-hand coordination in those football players, I'm going to keep talking some trash. It was nothing even close to some guys like Travis Diener and Dan Fitzgerald and Mike Kinsella and Joe Chapman. I don't know if the training is a little bit different, but I hope those boys had the training camp they were talking about having because they had some work to do. And
what positions were they? Were they linebackers?
It was a lot of line. It was linebackers. A lot of big
dudes.
Yeah. Man, I saw some linebackers in a couple softball games that you question the fact that they're playing any kind of professional sport, but then they run around, they hit somebody, and you're like, okay, I get that. But those hands sometimes are a little lacking. And the throws, it's like, have you never thrown a ball ever in your life? Like, was your job literally from infancy up, like through high school, through into the pros, like you literally just hit people, and that was it?
Yeah, I feel like the softball, it might just be the wrong size. It's like the wrong shape and the wrong size. And I'll be honest,
everything wrong.
They swung the bat. It's everything wrong. They swung harder than anyone I've ever seen, but it was the bench, the Marquette basketball bench that came through. Some of the ladies as well were hitting some, so we're looking forward to just keeping some of the unfriendly banter the way it should be in an in-state rivalry like this going. And even though everyone knows that we're playing softball, and so there's really no appropriate reason to talk trash, I think that's pretty much what we plan to do.
What is the charity that it supports?
So there's multiple charities really throughout the state that they're going to, and we've got some awesome sponsors as well that are just so integrated in the community, especially out in Lake Country, out in Oconomowoc out by the Doc Hound Stadium as well. And so, this game is presented by Bank 5-9, who is not one of the charities, but the presenting sponsor, and just an awesome group of folks. And Tim Schneider, the CEO, and Jeff McCarthy, their CFO. They're just everywhere out there that you look, whether it's, the State Fair when you're driving down the freeway, or every Chamber of Commerce, featured farmers market and youth sports, everything. So huge shout out to those guys. They honestly, getting to know them over the last few years, could not be a more generous group of people. And they've been a huge part of this as well. I think Tim will be there as well, saying a few words before the game again this year. So we're kind of just leaning on them to keep helping us make it a great time, and they've just been awesome. So they're all in on the Marquette versus Wisconsin rivalry, and we figure out what their allegiances are based on which jersey they choose to wear every time we get there. So we got a lot of love for them.
Smart. We got Steve Novak. He's with FanDuel Sports at Steven Novak 16 on X, talking about the Wisconsin versus Marquette Celebrity Softball Slam on Saturday on the Mason Crosby Show. A question for you there is, like, how do people, is it sold out? Are there still tickets available? How do people go and get tickets and show up and be a part of this thing?
Yeah, there are still tickets available. Last year was awesome, and we're just going to have a bunch of fun stuff going with some T-shirt giveaways and throwing some baseballs and basketballs out into the crowd and T-shirts, stuff like that. We're going to have a little basketball shooting competition going on kind of in the family area. And nice. So it is definitely a grab a drink, have some fun type environment. And the game last year was really fun. But like you said, tickets you can get by just going to Wisconsin versus MU Celebrity Softball Slam. And really, if you just Google Wisconsin versus Marquette Celebrity Softball, you can find it, and some cheap tickets to be able to come and hang out, like you said, Saturday for an awesome game. And last year it was a blast. So hopefully it's just as fun this year. And came down to 2 outs and a home run to win it last year. So hopefully we can keep it just as exciting this year.
That is such a humble brag by Steve Novak. You can go to DocHounds.com, and I think there are tickets there as well. But like you said, WIVSMU CelebritySoftball.com is where all the information is. Steve, I got to admit, as a Badger alum, I was a little, it hurt my self-esteem. It hurt my it hurt my self-worth a little bit that I wasn't asked to play on this team. I think they were just nervous that Marquette would get trounced if a Badger like myself was on the field.
Yeah, the Marquette side, we put out a banned list of folks that we knew were alumni.
That's right.
And you were on there, Mitch. You better believe it. We know. We've seen you at Mike Hegan's Grand Slam getting your reps.
Man, we used to own Mike Hegan. Mike Hegan's was the best. Was Mike Hegan's the best or what?
If you know Mike Higgins, you know.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. IYKYK on Mike Higgins. That was absolutely the best part. I do have to say, you mentioned Jeff McCarthy, who's the marketing guru over at Bank 5-9. He was part of the pickleball team with Brian Lammy Thursday night that won the first round of the Celebrity Pickleball Tournament at Summerfest last Thursday. And now they've got round 2 going on tonight. Jeff's a nice little pickleball player, but I think Lammy is like a ringer. Like Lammy, at some point, he's going to sell Team Lammy, and it's going to come like Team whoever takes it over, passion. And he's going to go up. He's going to be a professional pickleball player. Like that is his jam. Steve, do you play pickleball?
Poorly, I do. I will partake, and everybody seems to be more excited about me playing pickle than I am.
I drive you're 8 feet tall.
Well, you're tall. Yeah, right. You're like at the net. Like, where do you hit the ball? Yeah,
well, you got to stay out of the kitchen, though. You got to stay out of the kitchen,
obviously. But yeah, I mean, he's huge. That's like I played against Jordy Nelson. Jordy Nelson's arms, wingspan, and just like you could not get a shot past him. So I'm sure you're like everyone's favorite player, Steve.
See, this is exactly how it goes. I feel like I'm being baited again. Everyone says at the net, you're so tall, you can never. And then,
but then you got to bend.
Okay, I don't.
Right.
No, and then people are pelting me in the face with a pickleball as I stand at the net, and I think this is for their entertainment because they can tell I actually don't know what I'm doing.
So now you're questioning every invite. They're like, "Hey, Steve, we're going to invite you. You play on the other team, and we're just going to hit balls at you for an hour and a half. It's going to be a lot of fun."
And that could actually be what Saturday night looks like as well, just so the people who are going to be excitedly coming know I'll be on the pitching mound, perhaps getting a softball pelted at me, and I just continue to find ways to be in those situations since I retired from the NBA. So this is what it looks like, but it should be fun.
That's awesome. Let's ask you a quick question, just about the NBA and NBA draft that happened last night for the first round. Like, kind of what your take is on the the first couple picks. Obviously, we all knew Cooper Flagg was going to the Mavs, but any thoughts on any of those picks and who you might think the Bucks are going to take here at 47 tonight?
Yeah, no, I mean it's such a fun night. I think the NBA does such a good job, with just the speed of it, and obviously it's the 30 picks. It's so different than a lot of other drafts. It's fun to watch. Now they broke it up into 2 nights, so the second round is tonight. But I think just a lot of the drama around the Cooper Flagg. Was Dallas going to keep it? Were they not? And obviously Dallas with a 1.8% chance of even winning the draft lottery at 1. Getting that was pretty exciting. I know that there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there now as to how they got that and whatever, but we'll leave that to everybody else. But then I think, just giving some love to our Milwaukee, Wisconsin guy, Camille, going number 4. I just thought that was such a cool story. I'm sitting there watching the draft with my to-be freshman in high school son, and I just love it when there's a kid that, you can see and touch and be close to in the state, and then he's off doing that. It's like, man, that is inspiring. So just happy for the Knippel family, and looks like they got a few more young men that might be coming up the chute as well. So I thought that was fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, we got Steve Novak, FanDuel Sports, at Steven Novak 16. He's gearing up for the Wisconsin versus Marquette Celebrity Softball Slam on Saturday, so go check that out. One other question for you. You said your son's an upcoming freshman. What are his stats like? Is he looking like he's going to be the next young Novak to take the reins and go up into the NBA?
You know what, Mason? You're just going to have to come to Whitefish Bay and find out, bro. Because Whitefish Bay Hoops is how we do it.
Yeah, no, he loves it, man. Obviously it's in the blood. I followed my dad around. Mike Novak coaching me at Brown Deer for my whole childhood.
I love it.
I thought there was nothing better, than having keys to the gym and playing hoops and being around the high school guys. And I think my son, I try to create as much of an environment as like that as my dad did. Obviously, for me, it's being around Marquette and the Bucks, and so blessed to just be in these like awesome basketball environments, which I think is just the magic. It's about the people you're around and the examples, and he's got just a ton of those people in his life and loves playing. He can shoot it. He can handle it. He's a southpaw, so it's
nice.
Prettier than mine. And yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. You know how it goes. You get to 6'1", you might play a little bit. You get to 6'9", like me, you got a better chance. So we'll see what puberty has to say about it.
I love it. Just keep your eyes and ears out for those NIL deals. And the Mason Crosby show, we've been talking about potentially putting a deal together for some of these young players. So just let us know if you ever want us to come check them out.
I like it. No, and I'm looking for a retroactive NIL deal if you guys are throwing those out.
Yeah, exactly. We all are, man.
Hold on.
I know. I want to go back to Colorado and see if I can't score anything from my time there as well.
You should tell them they can't show any more highlights on Twitter of you kicking 55-yarders
can't use my kicks.
unless you get paid some NIL dollars.
Yeah, they'd be like, okay, yeah, no problem. We won't show any more of those.
Marquette can't show any 41-point, 16-rebound performances against UConn unless they're willing to pay Mr. Novak a couple of shekels.
Name and likeness. There it is.
That's right. I just want a few pair of Marquette Jordans and some T-shirts. We can call it even. But Mitch, if you want to represent me, be my hype man. Let me know how many 7 figures you can get for me.
Steve, I got you. You know I got you. So we're at game on. Let's go.
All right, Steve. Well, I appreciate you jumping on, and good luck in the softball game this weekend. Just go out there and crush those Wisconsin Badgers.
Hey.
Yeah,
Slow
I know we got a
down,
couple in the
Mason.
house, so I'm throwing that shade. But I threw some money at Marquette whenever my wife was going for a semester of law school. So I got to support Marquette in this thing.
I like it. We're happy to have you on board, and obviously I know you're well experienced in some of the Packers celebrity softball games, and so all that lineman can't hit the ball talk. Just know it's no hate, because I know the kickers are a little bit different. So we appreciate your support, and it should be fun Saturday night. So appreciate you guys having me.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Have a
Steve.
great one, Steve. Thanks a lot.
All right, you too.
That is Steve Novak. Remember, it's WIVSMU, celebritysoftball.com, Wisconsin versus Marquette, celebritysoftball.com, or dockhounds.com, because it is being played at the home of the Lake Country Dockhounds there in Oconomowoc. It was a thrilling victory for Marquette last year after Travis Beckham had hit a homer for the Badgers. Steve Novak with a walk-off to win it in 7. We'll see if they can recreate that type of drama that you just can't script this year with the Wisconsin versus Marquette Celebrity Softball Slam in Oconomowoc Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Drew
hard to say.
Drew Wagner coming up next, huh?
Yeah, what's the weather like there?
Oh, the weather is absolutely beautiful today after a great day yesterday was in the high 60s, which Tommy and I really enjoyed. But today it's 79 in Hales Corners, getting up to 81, low of 70. Potential thunderstorms, maybe mid-afternoon, and then definitely this evening it's looking like there's a chance. So it's only in the 30, 40%. High in the low 80s, lows in the 70s. So there's chances, but keep an eye on the forecast, because it keeps saying that it might thunderstorm, it might not. The thunderstorms keep moving. You can never really predict the weather. You can just use your weather app on your phone to find it out. So
just figure it out.
Yeah,
from the app.
so figure out the weather app on your own. But right now it is 79 and absolutely beautiful here in Hales Corners. I can confirm that.
Love it.
Drew Wagner, we know he right now is enjoying his air conditioning. No doubt about it. He is inside enjoying the air conditioning. He'll join us next to talk about everything Mizorowski and the Brewers. And they are exactly 81 games done.
They're ballers.
So they are halfway through the 162-game season. So we can pretty much guarantee exactly how many wins they'll get this season. We'll talk about that with Drew Wagner coming up here on the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee.
Oh, yeah.
What's the latest on the crew? Let's go inside the clubhouse with Drew Wagner of Forbes Sports on the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Thunder Nelles. Brought to you by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, The Fan. Inside the Clubhouse is brought to you by Focus Baseball, because fundamental development starts with focus. Find them at focusbaseball.com.
Quiet on the set. Can we please have quiet on the set?
Awesome!
I came to play. There's a price to pay.
This is basically the Jacob Mizorowski Celebration Tour 2025 here on the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee. My name's Mitch Nelles, a.k.a. Thunder. For some reason, my YouTube link was muted. I didn't do that. I don't know who did that, but
yeah, I like the drama that it made.
It was drama. That's what I was going for. I was going for like Dan Patrick is the king of dead air, using like pauses dramatically while he's doing an interview, and so I just
give space.
Thought it would work if I let everyone breathe. This is the Miz, the Wrestlers music, which they did play at AmFam Field yesterday. I would love to ask Jacob Mizorowski if he does he embody all the things of the Miz? Like, does he like that there is a pro wrestler named the Miz and that he has a theme song? Does he want his own theme song? Does he not want to be the Miz? Does he have a different nickname? Stretch?
What is he gonna
Flamethrower? Plastic Man? I feel like he's plastic because like his arms are so long and like he's so close to the plate when he lets go of the ball.
Maybe like Rubber Man?
Yeah. Elastic Man, plastic. Oh, Rubber Band Man. There you go.
Yeah,
now we're thinking. Joining us now on the Mason Crosby Show as part of Inside the Clubhouse, he is our Forbes sports reporter, our Milwaukee baseball insider, Mr. Drew Wagner. Good morning, Drew.
Good morning.
Drew. You don't get a day off. I know you get a day off from going to the ballpark, but you got to talk to us. I hope you didn't think we were going to forget about you. So, we're all about the Miz. We're all about Mizorowski, what he's doing. Obviously, that matchup against Skeens yesterday was highly touted. Mizorowski played pitched a great game, 5 innings. Just tell us your thoughts on what this kid is doing and how special he might be.
He's pitching pretty good. That's the best way to say it right now.
Yeah, he is.
Nice.
You can sit here and you can throw out every platitude and whatever. At the end of the day, he's out there pitching. The team is 3-0 in the games that he starts, and they are back in the middle of the race again. That's the most important thing. He's been impressive. I was expecting more out of yesterday. I kind of let down. The game was 2.5 hours. I figured Skeens and Mizorowski should have been about tidy $1.15, but no, Skeens had to go out there and get a little scraped up. So yeah, I feel let down.
You felt let down because Skeens didn't have as good of a day. Is that what happened? That Pirates team is just not very good, right?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Skeens is kind of getting wasted on that. Granted, it's not quite the same, extreme level of talent, but it reminds me a lot about watching Ben Sheets go out there and take the bump every 5 days for some of those early 2000s Brewers teams, just going out there surrounded by absolute no talent and basically a mess of a roster. And, you have a generational talent pitching. It's unfortunate for Paul Skeens.
Yeah, it's a bummer. And like Tommy said at the beginning of our show of just, we were talking about managing Mizorowski and like what that looks like. And then it's like how they are just using Paul Skeens because they know he's not long for the Pittsburgh Pirates. As soon as he can get out of there, I'm sure he's going to go somewhere else. And they just, at this point already, he has, I think 100 and 120 innings pitched throughout this season. So they are just leaning on him, just trying to find some wins under his belt, and he's doing the best he can. So, what do you think about that on what moving forward the Brewers should do managing Misiorowski? Just stay status quo, or do you think they need to make some adjustments to keep him healthy?
It all kind of depends on how he's pitching, how he's feeling, who else they have coming back in the hopper. Remember, you're going to get another starter back in Woodruff. You could see Nestor Cortes coming back. There's a good chance that Misiorowski ends up going back down to Nashville to pitch or into the bullpen to pitch. They're going to be very cautious with the guy, and rightfully so. He's a once-in-a-lifetime talent. He is the future anchor of this rotation, they hope. They're going to guard against every possible injury and do their best to keep him safe. Starts like yesterday, you might see him on a 75-pitch, 80-pitch limit just to keep him managed. One of them, maybe piggyback with some of the long relief options you have in the bullpen. I mean, they're going to explore every avenue. But as long as they can keep him in the rotation and as long as he's pitching the way he's going to pitch, they're going to find a way to get him work.
Honestly, I asked the guys the question that at the beginning of the show, just kind of like, if there is a management situation, is it foreseeable that he goes into a relief spot or in just a closing type pitcher just to kind of keep him from burning his arm out, especially at his young age, and just kind of having a management mindset until you just kind of build him to a point where you're like, all right, he is smart enough, he knows exactly what he's doing with his arm, with his body, that he can go out there and manage a starting role on a week in, week out basis.
Yeah, and a lot of it comes down to the kid too. These days in between starts are crucial. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you listening to the trainers? Are you doing your recovery stuff? Are you doing your exercises? Mm-hmm. That's a big part of it. And it's also something that he has to learn how to do, which is part of the reason that he's up here, to learn how to recover and rehab and prepare. So they're going to watch it. They're going to be careful. I mean, we saw firsthand last year with Robert Gasser. Kid came up, a couple of great starts, and then poof. And it's funny now because the Brewers have had an embarrassment of riches at the starting pitcher this year, and we've almost tended to forget that Robert Gasser is starting his comeback and could be back with the team before the season ends.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was crazy as you started listing off potential pitchers coming back into that bullpen. I mean, it's just it could be loaded here in the next month or so, where you're having to make some weird and some interesting decisions that might be head scratchers, at times, and we're gonna just probably have to roll with it and see how the chips fall. But something that I didn't get to ask on because I was not on the show yesterday, as we were talking about it, but I texted the guys. What did you think about them, sending down? I couldn't see exactly what they did with the player that did not run out the double play for the Pirates. Did they release him, or did they just send him down?
I think he just got pulled from the game. He was back.
They just said him down. Okay.
He played.
He was back yesterday, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember who the player was, but when I saw that, because Tommy had just referenced. He gets upset whenever I think it was what was it, Contreras and or Hoskins don't run out to first, just full speed, regardless if it's just an easy out. What do you think about something like that? On a does it speak to what the Pittsburgh Pirates are? Do you think that a manager needs to call their guys out and be like, we need to see the effort, or do you not care about stuff like that?
I don't read too much into that because, listen, we've talked about that before. There are times where you see Contreras not running full speed, and Murph's put out there, you know what, especially for a guy like Contreras who's got such a demanding position, you know what, there are times where you have to conserve your energy. You have to conserve your body. You have to be aware of your body and aware of the situations. Rhys Hoskins, he's older. He's coming off a serious knee injury. There are times you have to be aware of your body and preserve your body for what's to come. It's not a lack of hustle. It's it's awareness. In O'Neal Cruz's case, it was more of a lack of awareness of the situation.
Yeah, which was bad.
He just he lost track of how many outs there were.
How many outs there were.
You should probably know.
That's not ideal. Whenever you're at the plate, you should probably know how many outs there are. But that's why I asked that, Drew. Is like, and again, I joke. Actually, I love baseball. I love playing baseball as a kid, but I love to joke about it because from my football background and just what is ingrained in like the football mentality is like I've heard this so many times. Hustle, like effort, is the only thing that you control. You don't need any talent. You don't need anything to give effort. You just have to give your best and your effort and your hustle all the time. Right. And that's like, it was crazy sometimes in my mind that we would hear that in the NFL, like that we would have to be sitting in a team meeting and being like you got a missed assignment, or you like not giving effort, like a minus for that. And it's like, those things are the controllables that you can do. So that was kind of why I asked, because I am curious, like in a baseball mindset, like how it's viewed in that locker room if a guy just isn't giving that max effort every time running to first base.
I mean, as long as again, it comes down to awareness. Guys know the situation. The great thing that I heard years ago from Ron Renneke, the former Brewers manager, people were all ticked off because he never got fired up or emotional in the dugout. And what do you guys want me to do? Come all over and beat up a Gatorade jug and kick over garbage cans? He's like, this isn't the NFL. It's not as brute, physical, nonstop action, fired up. It's baseball. It's longer. It's drawn out. You want me to get fired up and get everyone fired up and all emotional when they go up there and stand while they wait for the pitcher to throw the next pitch? It doesn't work like that. Hustle is a big part of the game, no doubt. Like you have to give hard, you have to give effort, but it's more about awareness. You have to be aware of all the situations in every situation. You want to see a guy hauling ass down the first base line on every single ball that's put into play. You want that, but you also know that these guys have to come up 3 more times in the game. They have to make plays in the field. If you're a catcher, your knees are getting a workout every game. You have to be careful with them. You're going to go sprinting down the first base line on a weak grounder to the shortstop. Who are you impressing at that point?
Yeah.
Run it, give it an effort. You don't have to go blazing down there because you're going to go squatting again for the next 15 minutes. There are differences to it.
I totally get that. And it's not like it's Little League where somebody might actually mess up a throw from shortstop or third base. I mean, you hit a little little slap slap to the shortstop. I mean, they are making that out 100% of the time.
I don't know. Have you seen the Pirates? Have you seen the Pirates play?
That's true. Okay.
Just saying.
Yep. That was a generalization for sure. Oh man. Well, hey, we are on Turang and Yelich watch. Those two, I am a little disappointed they have the day off because I felt like we just needed to keep this thing rolling for 20 straight days to try to get them their hits. But do you think those two can just keep those bats hot? I think Yelich is on like a 9-game hit streak and Turang's on a 10-game hit streak. Just what do you have to say about those
Yelich
two?
has been on a heater now for better part of a month. I don't think he'll hit 400 the remainder of the season, but I think Christian Yelich we can finally say Yelich is back. Turang has been pretty good all year long. He hasn't found any extended slumps. I think both of these guys are in really good spots right now. I think you're seeing the best versions, the real versions of themselves. So I see no reason why they can't keep this up. I'm sure they're going to have a over game in here at some point. I don't anticipate a Joe DiMaggio type run from any of these guys, but they look good. And from top to bottom, this offense is clicking on all cylinders right now. You're getting production all over the place. The bottom of the lineup right now is on a tear. It bodes well, and it couldn't come at a better time.
Well, I don't even know if Drew knows the bets. I don't even think Drew is aware that we have hit streaks.
Something about you getting a tattoo?
Yeah, he does.
Yes,
I bring it up every week.
It's 20 games for It's 20 games for Terang, 22 games for Yelich is the streaks that they need to have. And then I will get
twos everywhere.
Twos all over my body. Yes.
Good God. That's a lot of real estate for artists to work with.
Wow.
That's all right.
Let's
go. Mason will probably order a bunch of cookies in the shape of twos and send it to me.
Oh gosh, it's gonna be such a big party.
Molly's gonna order the cookies.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
I cannot wait for the celebration. Before we let you go, the last guy that I just kind of want to hit on that. There's been moments where we've been a little down, but Caleb Durbin is I was looking at his last kind of game log. I mean, the guy is hitting the ball. Are we happy? Are we a little satisfied? Is he shoring up that third base position, or is there still a question mark in your opinion?
It sure looks like he's shoring it up. What happens between now and July 31st remains to be seen. I think the Brewers are definitely going to be out there looking for a more power bat at that spot. But
trying to find some power.
Durbin has played himself in to a starting job. He has lived up to the billing. He's performing exactly as described when they acquired him last year in the Devin Williams trade. He looks really good. He's playing great defense. He's hitting the ball. He's making plays. He's got a little bit of power. We're starting to see that coming now. He's establishing himself nicely. Now, they could still go out and trade for a third baseman with some pop and then move Durbin into that utility infield role that Andrew Monasterio is currently in. But I think Durbin has made a case to be the guy in that job.
Yeah, I just I hadn't even been tracking him as closely, just kind of following kind of the main kind of the main guys that we always talk about. But yeah, he has had a heck of a run here since most of June. I mean, June 12th on. He's only not gotten a hit in 2 games. It just seems to be finding his bat a little bit, which I know early on we were questioning quite probably once a week at least.
Yeah, at least, yeah. Drew, can I know it's way too early to talk about next season, but we always talk about young players, what they can do. Do you see a scenario where Durbin's the future second baseman, Terang's the future shortstop, and whether it's Ortiz or somebody else, they figure something else out at third base?
Maybe. I think the whole situation with Terang's shoulder in spring training kind of put that discussion on the back burner. I think Ortiz and I think the middle of your infield's probably kind of locked at this point. I don't think they're going to mess that up, especially now that Ortiz is starting to come around both offensively and defensively. He's played very well at shortstop, incredibly good at shortstop, and his bat has started to pick up. I think you probably leave those guys where it is, but it's something that they can explore. If they do go out and acquire a third baseman, especially one that's got a little bit of control, maybe then you consider making an adjustment in spring training. But for the time being, I think they're looking at this as the middle of their infield. This is kind of their core moving forward.
Nice. Drew, really appreciate you jumping on as always. Last question before I leave you off, just a quick hit. At the middle point of the season, 45-36.
90 wins, baby. Book it.
Do the Brewers get over or do they go under 90 wins at this point?
That's a great question, Mason.
I'm saying 90 because at our the night before I left for spring training, because I was down there in the beginning, these other 2 slaps came down later. Kurt Hogue, Jack Stern, and I went out for a hydration session at our local hydrating area. And we I have to find where the napkin is. We wrote down our predictions for the year, and those clowns said something like 80-something, and I don't think either of them had the playoffs. And I said 90 wins in the division. And I got mocked.
Locked in. I like it.
Damn kids never respect their elders. So I'm sticking with 90 in the division.
Drew, hey, I never pinned you for an optimist, but I love your optimism in that moment. And we're going to lock it in here on the Mason Crosby Show. They are going to get over 90 wins, and they are chasing that division down. So I really appreciate it.
The crazy thing is, I mean, they should be better. Like, if you
they
look
could
at
be.
it,
based on how bad they started.
Very easily, based on how they started and what they had to deal with, the fact that they got to 45 is incredible. But then you look at how poorly the offense performed for stretches of it, while the pitching staff was absolutely dominant at times. Like, this team should easily be at 50. Like, there is no reason this team could not be sitting at something like 50-31 right now.
I love it.
They have a lot better than they have played, despite everything that they've had to deal with.
100 wins. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah. I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm right there with you, Drew. I can't wait to track
wins.
it.
Yep, 95. Let's go.
Oh, boy.
All right, Drew.
Stick it with 90, fellas. Let's stick it with 90.
Stick it with 90.
Have a great weekend, my friend.
See you, boys.
All right. Appreciate you, Drew.
That's Drew Wagner, Forbes Sports, our Milwaukee baseball insider. Mason's Extra Points coming up next on the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon.
Yeah, buddy.
Woo!
What's on Mason Crosby's mind today? It's time for Extra Points, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Nelles on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM, The Fan.
All right. What a great Thursday, which I thought was Friday. So you're going to get to have us one more day this week, heading into the weekend. Really appreciate everyone that jumped on. Camille Davis at 9:20. If you missed that interview, jump on the Odyssey app. Go to thefanmilwaukee.com. Find the Mason Crosby Show. Go and listen to anything you missed. It was awesome having Steve Novak on. If you have nothing going on this weekend, or if you have something and you want to shift your plans around, go to the Wisconsin versus Marquette Celebrity Softball Slam on Saturday. It's going to be a great time. Steve guaranteed he's going to hit another home run to win the thing. So if he doesn't, I think he gets maybe a Gatorade, something crazy is going to happen. So. Drew was fired up today. I mean, I did not know he would make a prediction, but I do think this Brewers team is poised to get over 90 wins, which is awesome. Obviously, at 45, that's like, okay, yeah, they're going to get to 90. They're just, if they play the same, they have the rest of the season. But I honestly, I agree with his point that this Brewers team should be better than they are right now as far as records go.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And they're 9 games over 500, so they're no slouches. And the fact that they could be even better than that, I mean, look out, world! Here
and
come
they're playing the
Brewers.
Rockies, right?
Yeah.
I just sent y'all. Did you see that picture I sent you?
Who is that?
I don't even know. I got to look it back up. I got to Google it.
Is that where are you? Is that your personal property or did you?
It's my personal property. That's something I found in the basement yesterday.
Is that the same first
Colorado
letter?
Rockies signed
Steve?
baseball.
Is that an S or a J?
It looks like it's Steve. I don't know. I'm trying to think.
Balboni? He never played for the Rockies. He's
Steve on
too
the
old.
Rockies.
Yeah. I could probably. You could probably AI Google that thing.
Oh yeah. I'm going to take a picture of it right now.
Yeah,
I'll do that.
I mean, I should have done it, but I wanted to have that conversation because I thought it was interesting. So I found that ball. I also found something that is in kind of in rest in peace, recently deceased Steve McMichael. I have a Steve McMichael Chicago Bears little soft football that he signed for me.
That's pretty cool.
So my aunt, my dad's sister, actually went to school with him. So
okay.
She actually knew him very well, and I have a signed card and that signed football. So kind of crazy as I'm doing my declutter and going through the basement, I'm finding some fun little things. So
how many things have you wanted to keep that that Mrs. Molly said, nope, this is going?
She leaves the memorabilia or my past, the stuff from my playing days. She's just whatever you want to do with
There's
that.
no way this is Nolan Arenado.
No, it says Steve. It says
AI
Steve,
says the
sure.
image shows a baseball in a display case specifically identified as a Colorado Rockies 25th anniversary game used and autographed Nolan Arenado baseball.
No, because this was their inaugural year.
Right.
Is when I got that sign.
Oh, I got you. Let me look.
All right, so it's not Andres Galarraga. It's not Dante Bichette.
Andres. I love Andres. Let's look at the roster. I can probably figure it out.
Yeah. Larry Walker?
No,
it doesn't look like Larry Walker.
1993 Rockies roster. Who's got Steve on there?
Yeah.
Who's Steve? Is there a Steve?
All right.
Scott's Steve Reed.
Steve Reed.
What's a Scott?
It's got to be Steve Reed. That looks like an R.
Yeah, but Steve, why would Steve Reed have even signed a baseball? He's Steve Reed. Come on.
Hey, dude, I was a little kid in Fort Collins, Colorado. They came up and they did a fanfare, and I waited in line and got all my stuff signed.
Couple of names just for fun here: Dante Bichette, Andres Galarraga, both on those teams, but also the catcher Joe Girardi.
Joe Girardi.
Okay. All right, nice.
I loved, again, I've told y'all, I loved Andres Galarraga. Tried to bat like him one summer. Yeah. Did not go well.
Well, you're with all due respect to you, Mason, you are skinny, and Andres Galarraga had heft.
Well, I'm more of I got to be squared up. He was wide open and got that bat going. I was trying to flash. I'm not a flashy guy. I'm in that box. I'm locked in, and I'm just cranking line drives all day.
Nice. Remember to go see hi to Steve Sparky Pfeiffer today and tomorrow. He'll be live at Summerfest right by the hole-in-one contest, 2 to 5 today and tomorrow. Avoid the we'll see if we get some thunderstorms this afternoon, but if we do, you can avoid those at Summerfest.
Yes, avoid that.
Yeah. So, hey, great job, Mace.
All right, guys, appreciate it. Yeah, we got one more day this week, apparently. Yeah, a little bonus day.
I can't believe it's not Friday. I agree. He's Mason Crosby. I'm Mitch Nelles, a.k.a. Thunder. We are the Mason Crosby Show, presented by Verizon, the #1 network in Milwaukee, in the Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
See you tomorrow.